that I think was having a little problem. Was that right? Getting the book, but you got it solved. Is that right? Or who was that? Let me see.
Yeah, initially there was a setting in Google settings that was preventing it from going through, so I found a better link.
Okay, so is anybody having trouble ordering the book? Okay, see if you can get it all done this week so I can make sure I've got your addresses. Now, when you order it, there should be a place to easily be able to include your address. Is that any problem with that? Okay. All right.
Sorry, say that one more time.
I'm saying is when you order it, there should be a place for delivery. That again. There should be a place for delivery when you order the book. About where you want the book delivered. What address?
That part, I just did the donation thing, actually.
Okay.
That's what I thought it was.
Okay, there was a place there that they had for what your address is. And I know you guys have sent it in, but I just want to make sure, just in case. So when you do that, make sure you include your address. Okay. Let's see, what else did I have that, this is kind of we'll call it an extra credit, I guess is the way to do it. I would like to have a couple of people. I've agreed with Eric to go ahead and write his advertisement for the Russia River cruises. And I've done an initial one, and I would be happy to have 2 or 3 students join me on the writing committee, and we can put it on a Google Doc and just go back and forth that way if you would like to do it. So if we have any volunteers that would like to do it, just email me and tell me that you would like to be on the writing committee for the Russia River cruises, and I'll share with you the advertisements that I'm creating, and you can have a say in it, and we can go from there. Let's see. Kiko just said that she did not get an invitation. Wasn't it in the announcement?
No. I looked at the old email you sent. Jenny told me it's the same invite from before, so I just looked for the previous email that would work.
Same.
Okay. Well, I guess I better do a good job, but I thought I had put that in there. I got 2 people that are going to join us in just a second. Kiko and Keiko, I should say, and Tyler. All right. The next question I'm having, this is an open question for everybody, is the study guide helpful for you? Are you finding it useful as you're going through? Give me some reactions to it.
Yes.
Oh. Okay. That's a reaction, Jenny B. Any other comments about the study guide?
It does help me focus on which specific parts of your stories to focus on.
Okay. Hey. Welcome, Tyler.
It's also really nice for like an overview. So I like to overview books before I read them, and I feel like it's kind of a brief overview of what I'm going to be learning about and what to look for.
Okay, good. Welcome, Keiko. Oh, she's connecting right now. Tyler, you're now here. Good.
Oh yeah, sorry, my mic's on. Yeah, thank you. I was like trying to figure that out, but thanks.
Pleasure. I guess I will put up on the announcements again, but I think it should be the same address every time because I just got it as a reoccurring Zoom. Is that true? Once you have it one time, it
I
should be
tried
sent
the old
every time?
address and it wouldn't go through, and that's why I was confused here today. But that one that you just sent me totally worked. So
Okay.
He had 2 announcements. So the very first one is the wrong one, and then
Okay.
the second one is the right one.
okay, awesome. I got it all figured out.
Okay. Then before we get into what I wanted to discuss today, Keiko, are you on a team for the next assignment is finding a business?
I don't think so. Not that I know of.
Okay, how about if you're on the third member of the team with McKay, Lou, L-U-U, and where'd he go? Who was the other person that was on it?
Josh
Oh, it
Otters.
was Josh Otterson. Josh Otterson. I have it written down here. Okay, so Keiko is the third member of that team. Okay. All right, Tyler, are you on a team?
Yeah, I'm on Team Apollo.
Well, we've disbanded all those, and you're getting a team with 3 people on it this time to be able to search out a business that needs to have the advertisement written for it and work together for the rest of the semester to create a killer ad for that business.
Okay.
And sounds to me like you don't have anybody yet, but we'll get you one, right?
Okay, so I switched teams from the one I was on last week.
Yeah, that was just for that one assignment.
Gotcha. Okay.
So now you can get together with 2 more people and then study a new business.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Any problems or area things that you'd like to discuss before we get into the whole thing? Jonathan is there. I get Jonathan, you're there now, right?
Yes.
Are you on a team for the next assignment, a team of 3? That's a new team.
Honestly, I don't know. I'm on an airplane right now. I just barely landed in Denver.
Oh, we're honored. Okay. Good to have you. How about if you join Tyler Pan?
Okay.
And it's Jonathan Snyder, right? Schneider.
Schneider, yeah.
Snyder. Okay. Then we're good with that. April, are you
Yes.
there now? Do you have a 3-person team yet?
I haven't seen anything about this. Where is it located at?
Right here.
I've been looking. Okay, I do not have a team yet. Nope.
Okay. You'll be on with Jonathan and Tyler. So we got Jonathan,
Okay.
Tyler, and April. That'll be a 3-person team. And again, your purpose is to find a business that needs advertising, and you guys volunteer to create a great advertisement for them.
Okay,
So you're putting into practice what you're learning here.
great.
So just
Okay.
to clarify, there's no announcement or anything about this. It's just we're going off of just what we're talking about right here to conduct our teams.
It's all in the syllabus.
Yeah, it's in the syllabus.
Okay.
You'll see it there it's team ads for business progress. It's several places. You read down through it. It should be very clear about what you do, but if it isn't, what do you do?
Ask a question. Yeah.
Just ask me and we'll solve all that. Okay, I want to spend the rest of the time today discussing, again, any points that you want to discuss in advertising, promotions, whatnot, particularly as it applies to the writing, to the text as you're going through it. Since we last met, you will have read chapters 1 through 11, no, let 1 through 10 and chapter 12, which is more or less a summary section. So let's just start with there, and somebody begin, and let's talk about the points that you perhaps found interesting or applicable to what you're doing. And let's just, somebody bring up one point that was mentioned in particularly chapters 7 through 11 and 12, and 7 through 10 and 12. Who would like to start? Is that Anna?
And
The
we can't.
monkey fist.
Oh, no. I'm sorry, I forgot about Anna. She's driving or at work. No, she's at work. That right. So do we have a volunteer? Don't be shy.
I was just saying from chapter 7, be the monkey's fist.
Okay. I think we're going to have to discuss Monkey's Fist. Let's just make a list of what we want to talk about. Other things that you guys, bring it up. Your chance to set the agenda.
Honestly, I haven't read it yet. I read the first 3 chapters for the last assignment, but I haven't read chapters 7 to 10
Okay.
yet.
All right. Somebody who has read it. Let's talk about a couple of these principles. And let's talk about the Monkey's Fist. Who wants to explain it to everybody? Okay, somebody help me out here. I'm dying. What's the Monkey's Fist? Chase? Do you know what that is now?
I'll go at it. So when there's these large, were they cruise ships or just regular large ships? I don't remember.
It was actually the large steamship ships from 100 years ago. Massive ships, yeah.
Okay, so there's these large ships that would go in and need to dock, and so they had these ropes that nobody would be able to lift personally, or even like a crew of men would be able to lift. And they, of course, had to be durable enough for these ships to be able to anchor to shore. And so they started these ropes with a monkey's fist, which she kind of showed a little bit earlier, but it's just like a small attachment of rope with a ball at the end. And they would throw that to somebody on the shore so that they could grab onto the end of the rope and then continue to pull in that rope, hand over hand, of course. And so Monkey's Fist was just the starting point of them being able to haul in that large rope and pull that through the water. And so I guess application to marketing is just helping us to leverage those large projects, leverage those kind of larger agendas that we have to do, and using our tools around us to be able to start pulling those big projects. You got to start with the Monkey's Fist. And an example in the reading is if, say for example, like you're a musician and you have a band and you want to be able to get concerts going, you can, I guess, market or share your talents with somebody that would be able to advertise for you. I think in the reading it kind of talked about I don't know, was it like a neighborhood, utilizing a neighborhood or some sort of company or agency to be able to market for you, and you would go play for them and have like I guess a good purpose behind it. I think they said it was for veterans or something like that. But yeah, in short, the Monkey's Fist is just leveraging the first step in the process by using the tools around you and being able to take the bigger ropes in for the ship.
One of the simplest ways to think of the Monkey's Fist is a free sample. That's what you're talking about with the singers, but it's anytime somebody with free sample. For example, how about at a restaurant? you get two meals for the price of one, or 50% off or something. What's that doing? Why would a restaurant lose that money? Brett, what do you think? Why would a restaurant give you one free meal for the price of two? No, one free meal for the price of two meals for the price of one.
Because you're bringing in more clientele, and that you get their foot in the door. The thing about the reading that I really like, that I've enjoyed, is that it says that in the marketing world, you become vanilla. You just become another cup of ice cream, just vanilla ice cream. You need to become more Rocky Road, or also you said Moose Tracks as well. And I think how I was saying is that the way to do that, to distinguish yourself, is through that monkey fist, like you said.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, it's really tough when you come out with a product and they haven't ever heard of it before, and there isn't some easy way for them to sample the product that's risk-free. Costco is one of the best marketing organizations around. Right? How does Costco make money?
By letting you sample things, and from that you want to purchase the actual product.
Yeah, that's one of their monkey's fist. And you're right. Let me even go back even more subterranean. How do they actually make money? Do they make much money off of the products that they sell? And the answer is no. They make money off of what?
Products like
memberships.
Memberships.
Yep.
I mean, you look at it, you pay $100 or $125 for a membership for the year, and what costs go against that? Nothing. That's just money coming in. And if you go there the whole year and they sell everything at cost, which they don't, but I'm saying if they did, they're making money off of the memberships. So what's one of their greatest drawing powers? April, you mentioned it. One of us, I have a lot of cheap friends who are worth a lot of money, but they're really cheap. And they will tell me they're going to lunch at Costco. Now this is pre-COVID-19. And they just go down there and they have their meal by going around and trying out all the samples, and then they chase it down with a hot dog afterwards. That's pretty cheap on the whole thing. But yeah, that's a good way. Good way, free samples. Yeah, that's the idea. Any other question on Monkey's Fist? You want to make it so your advertising, your promotion, anything you're doing has got to find a way to get the customer to say yes. In the smallest form, just to be able to say yes. And then you can go ahead and pursue them. Let's go back to the Russia cruise. What might be a monkey's fist to get somebody just to call?
I think the fact that they don't have to drag their luggage around, that they stay on the same place, that's really enticing to people.
Well, I think that's a great benefit, but will that be the thing that is going to get them to pick up the phone and inquire?
Discount.
What might you do? What?
Discounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things you see with all advertising is anytime you can have what's called exclusivity. It's something exclusive for you, and it's personal. By the way, you never write an ad to them, right? The great unwashed masses out there. You always write an ad to one person. You focus on that one person. You never say all of you out there. No. Just they got to believe they're talking. So it's exclusive to them. So it's when if you call or pick up the phone right now, you can be part of the drawing to get something, or your imaginations go. You've seen it all around with advertising. That's the monkey's fist approach as well. So I think we talked about it a little bit last in your group meeting, in your team meeting, April, where they said call today. What can you do to entice them to call today?
I have a
Go ahead.
other thing, Mark.
Please.
I guess my wife, she always comes home either with bags or we get something from Amazon or something, and she justifies her buying by saying, well, it was on sale, you know? And I feel like the best advertising or the best marketing is where the buyer, the way you presented it gives them an excuse to buy it or an excuse to go after it. And so it makes their indulgence seem fine, or it gives, like, they can take that. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's very good. Yeah, price, a free product, a free sample, anything that they can do. Now here's another thing you can try to do is, and I don't remember, well, it should be in the book by now if it isn't already, guarantees. Is a guarantee an inducement? Yeah, sure. And again, Costco is one of the best when it comes to guarantees. Yeah, any of you had an experience at a good or bad experience, I don't care which, when it comes to guarantees?
Yeah, I returned something to Costco that I found in my pantry, and I remember not liking it, and I took it. And because Costco's like so good at, they'll guarantee you any return, maybe not at the moment, but they still like took it back, and it was like half gone. I was like, wow, that's really nice.
And isn't that expensive for Costco to do that?
Yes.
And do they ever get ripped off by people?
Probably.
Do they care?
No, because I think they've learned what other companies are now learning is that if you, for example, my sister worked for 1-800-CONTACTS, and they have the best return policy out there for contacts. Like if anything happens to your contacts, they will give you a free pair. And they lose a lot of money from people who scam them, but they still gain a lot more because people really appreciate that.
Go ahead. Who's talking? Tyler, is that you?
Yeah, I have something to add just about that. My family is kind of pinpointing me as abusing Costco's return policy, and the reason being is I actually don't see it as abusing the return policy. What it does is it lets me shrug my shoulders and be like, yeah, I'll give it a go. But 90% of the time, I end up keeping the product anyways. And the fact that I know that I can return it gives me, like, I qualify Costco as one of my favorite companies because I know I can go there and get a good or a good product, and I can return it with no questions asked, regardless if I like it or not.
Now you used a stat 90% of the time. I know it's in the reading someplace. I don't know if you've come across it. It should be in this set of reading and perhaps the previous. What is the typical maximum percentage of people that return a product?
Probably.
Anybody remember from the reading?
No.
And again, you may not have quite gotten it yet, and you have until midnight. Yeah, it's about 24%. And that's an industry-wide statistic that if you go out with it, the maximum number of people who will ever return a product, even if it's a lousy product, and of course, the more you pay for it, the more that's skewed. but it ends up as an average of about 24% of the people will ever return it. Now, I'll give you an example. I think I told you about an ad I did for a company. It was for a nutraceutical, an extreme vanity product, weight loss. And the ad I came up with for theirs, and when we get into more of the advertising, I'm going to talk about how you come up with killer headlines accidentally, which is what it always feels like. But there is a step process to hopefully help you get there. But the headline, and this was about 15 years ago, it's still being used. It's, when is a diet pill worth $135 a bottle? ... ellipsis, when it works. Okay, that's the headline. Well, that just sold millions of dollars worth of diet pills, and still is. And I walked back into their back room after the whole thing was going, and there were huge bins, like post office bins were on the rollers, filled with returns. And I was going, man, that's a lot. I'm feeling bad. I got to look at this. So I started studying the product and more, and they had ephedra in it, and they had a few other things that are not so good. And I asked the CEO, and I said, boy, that looks like a lot of product. He says, well, that represents about a 17% return ratio. Really? He says, it'll go up. And what it'll be? He says, about between 20 and 25%. So why? He says, well, basically it doesn't work. I mean, he was selling a product he knew didn't really work, except in extreme cases. And he says, it doesn't matter. We always offer them a money back guarantee. They send it back. Sometimes they're half open. Sometimes they're not even opened at all. But it never gets above 24%, 25%. And he says, we just make sure in our spreadsheet, when we're doing our calculations to find out if this is a viable product, we automatically put a return rate of 25%. And if we're still making oodles of money, great. Now, that's a very cynical way of doing it, but it's kind of like Tyler was saying, that's human nature. If you know that you can return it, you're going to have a much higher likelihood of buying it. And so I look at it, and I look at people's ads and going, why aren't you giving a money back guarantee? It doesn't make any sense. Very few people. I kind of discovered it when I had an art print. I was helping a nonprofit foundation, and they had taken donations. They had told people they had a very large audience base, as if you have a product you've created and you want to donate it to the foundation, and then we'll sell it and keep the money, and then you can write it off on your taxes, which is an instant win. Send it in to us. Well, they had gotten like 10,000 art prints from a famous artist named Cleo Marone, and she made it so that they were shipped all to the foundation, and so they went out and were selling them. Somebody's got their mic on. It must be Anna. Anyway, that's okay. And I took a look at the art prints, and they were called kind of weird Middle Eastern stuff that I was thinking is going to have a very limited amount. But we went ahead and put them out there, and for donations, we put them in a tube, a nice long tube, and shipped it to them. They were listed as an artistic collectible because they were a signed print. And so they ended up, I found out years later, I said, well, you money back guarantee on it. They said, oh, when we received ours, we just put it in our safe. They never even opened it up. And nobody ever returned them. And I just thought, okay. So that's a really important monkey's fist is the guarantee. It's kind of part of that whole game with it. Now, I also don't like the cynical approach. I love the Costco approach, where they go, we're going to have the best product, not always the cheapest, but we know if we take really good care of our members, they will renew their membership. Tyler, my son went back. They had a vacuum cleaner. You know, the battery operated ones. You guys probably all have those. A battery operated one. They're what, $400, $450, and it was kind of not working very well. And it had been 4 years or 5 years since they did it. And they just took it back and says, how do we get it fixed? They said, just return it. And they took it back, gave them a coupon. They went into the store, bought exactly the same brand, came out with it. You know, did Costco lose? They lost the amount of time it took for the person to return it. Who do they return it to? The company. You know, as a company, if you want to sell into Costco, you have to be willing to take back anything that's returned, which again is going to be no more than 24%. Okay. Well, we heard about that and we went, man, our vacuum cleaner we bought there it's been really going downhill, and to make a bad pun, it didn't suck. Well, it actually sucked because it didn't suck. So we took it back and thought, can we return this? They said, well, look it up. And they look at it and says, well, you bought it 8 years ago. Oh, well, never mind. They said, oh no, return it. But really? Okay. And so we returned it and we got a new one. So yeah, that's a great lesson for all of you in your advertising, is make sure that you include that. Okay. Another point, anybody like to talk about? Let me ask you about branding. We hear about that all the time.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that because you were talking about how Costco does higher quality products. And I was very fascinated by reading the chapter about what you said, you know, about Mont Blanc, and in it, how it was really about perception. And I was at the United Nations conference that was here in Salt Lake City last fall. And this lady was talking about how you could spot a rich person versus a poor person. And it's because how they're dressed, because a poor person wants to look like they are capable. So they'll wear a suit and they'll wear a really nice suit and really nice tie. But a rich person already, you know, they already have money, so they don't really care about how they dressed. And I thought that was very interesting, because she said, but you will notice that even though they dress down, all of their stuff is designer. So it's just very interesting how things have changed.
Yeah, and as marketers, we have to watch trends very carefully, and yes. we got to try to catch the wave. We don't. It's better if we can start the trend, but we may not be able to do that right away. Maybe that comes later, but at least follow the trends and know where it's going with it. What's the choice on branding? You really don't have a choice on branding. You're always branding. So the choice is you start off doing a brand image that you want to create, but you've got to know that that's going to change. I've said in some classes, temporary classes, where they were going on about branding and pointing out like Kleenex and Shell Oil, and they've done their branding. Well, I almost don't like that discussion, because you know, they've had years and years and years, and they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars telling the public what their brand is. Well, we don't have that as entrepreneurs or small businesses. You don't have that. So you just have to accept the fact that you do your best you can, and how often will you change your brand? Well, I don't know, but it could be quite often as you're developing it until a brand that you really, really like. And so I usually tell people with branding, slow down, do the best you can, and don't worry about it. Keep doing stuff, but what you want to make sure you're doing is whatever your brand is, you want to make sure it's consistent throughout all your marketing. You don't want to have different looks within a month of each other or something, but you've got to establish it, and then you're going to change it. It's going to constantly be changing. Let's talk about the bugaboo of feelings. I kind of mentioned it last time. Advertising is very much about generating feelings from your customers. But for you to do that, you've got to be very logical. You've got to be very exact in what you're doing so you pull those feelings out. But we've got to be careful that we don't let our emotions and our feelings get in the way of what we're doing. We've got to be really able to think this through. I watch students, not just students, but new people who are coming in with their business plan seeking funding, and they like to stand up and tell me that they know they're going to be able to make this business work, and they just are very passionate about it. And my suggestion to you is you never want to tell somebody you're passionate. Instead, they should feel it from what you're writing. They should feel it from what they're saying. They know that you're passionate without, you don't have to say it. That makes sense to you? Okay. Yeah, so we want to watch the feelings discussion. In the book, I talk about, there's a chart in the book. Let me see if I can pull it up here and show it to you. You can all see that now. I think I can get even there. Does that show as reverse, or can you? Is it correct? Jenny B, is that? Can you read that in the way it's supposed to be read? In the center, what does it say?
Values.
It should say values. Okay, so we got values, strategies, techniques. The entire idea is when you're advertising, when you're marketing, you've got to make sure your values are firmly intact. You can very quickly be pushed in one direction or another direction when it comes to morality. And you can catch yourself very quickly becoming deceitful, lying, and all the other kinds of things in what you're doing. But if you have good, strong values, out of those values will come strategies for your marketing. So as you're doing that, you're not having to worry about, am I selling out? Because they came out of your values. And a strategy would be like, okay, we're going to go out and use a direct mail approach. We're going to have door-to-door people, whatever you're going to do, the strategy on how you're going to market it, and the technique is the kind of ad you're going to use. One leads to another. So that's just kind of my soapbox thing is don't sell out your values. Make sure those values stay intact. There's no reason for you to do that. I've had many opportunities to do some weird things, but the values will keep you doing it on the right thing. Anybody want to talk about clarity? Anybody recall the example of clarity in the book? And maybe we're premature in this conversation until 1 o'clock this morning. So when you've had a chance.
Is this about, is this one about Las Vegas?
Yes, yes.
So Las Vegas is pretty clear about that. It wants you to lose as much money as possible when you go there.
Yeah, I mean, can you name another city in the world that knows itself as well as Las Vegas? Whether you like it or not is not the point, but they know, Las Vegas knows exactly what it's all about. And they have a slogan that tells you that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you all know it, right?
Viva Las Vegas.
Well, Viva Las Vegas, but there's another slogan.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. One of the most hedonistic ever slogans. It's extremely effective. And the reason they can come out with that is because they know exactly what the city is about. They don't make any apologies for it. They just put it out there. So I bring that out because I think it's one of the tough things, very tough things that people have, is getting a clarity of who they are and what their mission is, what they're trying to do. It's very difficult. So if you get a product and you get a business and you have a clarity of focus of what you're trying to do exactly, you're going to be able to really promote it just the same way Vegas does and find a way to do it, provided it comes out of your values. The last thing I want to talk about today, other than anything else you want to talk about, and I'm going to simply, as you go into this chapter, and this is in, which chapter is this in? This is chapter 10. This is a little credibility matrix that I created. And it's all based upon credibility. And what it's got is in box 1, and this is where you sell everything. Box 1 is you are selling a current product to a current market. That means you have an existing product you've been selling, and you have a client base that knows you, who sold other stuff too. Box number 2 is you create a new product and sell it to that client base. Box number 3 is you take an existing product that's worked and you sell it to brand new customers. And finally, the fourth one is you have a great idea for a product and you've never sold it before, and now you're selling it to people who've never heard of you before. Obviously, which box is the easiest one to make money in? You can hold up a finger. Yeah, I see lots of ones coming up. Good. I'm glad it was the index finger. So yeah, box number 1 for sure. The second easiest, of course, is box number 2. Why?
Because
you have
like
people who
you
can
said,
trust. You're good. Go for it.
No, you go for it. I've been talking way too much, Rebecca. Go.
I was just saying, because you already have a client base.
And what about that client base makes it easier for you to sell to them?
They trust you.
Right. That's credibility. Okay? Credibility. This is called the Stoddard Credibility Matrix. It all has to do with where the credibility is. When you're in box 3 and 4, that's a problem. That's expensive. In fact, if you're in box number 4, it's not going to happen. And unless you can figure out how to borrow somebody else's credibility and partner with them to sell your product, and then you are getting their customers, and the customers are willing to look at it because the other person has credibility, and your product has credibility, because it's been sold before. It has testimonials. Okay. As you read through here, I give you that there's 2 steps to selling. Step number 1 is you have to be able to convince them that the product is viable and worthwhile. And step number 2 is that you're the person that can deliver it to them. Okay? Those are the 2 steps to selling. Which is the most expensive one? We'll call for a raise of fingers. Is it more expensive to do 1 or is it 2? It's 1. Why? Because I'll give you a quick example. IBM, when the whole thing was with not Steve Jobs, what's his name? Microsoft. Come on, what's his name?
Bill Gates.
Yeah, Bill Gates. When Bill Gates came out with Microsoft, IBM was already a massive computer company. And they had decided that the next step in all their research, the next step was going to be something they called the personal computer. And they decided that the people that were going to need it were housewives. That was the marketplace, was go after housewives because they needed it to store their recipes, to control the temperature in their house, to keep track of the schedules. And so they went out with a massive campaign to try to sell that, and it completely bombed. It was very expensive to go out to somebody and teach them what a product is. It's very difficult. What kind of animal do you have, Rebecca? Oh, come on. Is that a dog?
My cat just decided to walk on me.
Hello, kitty cat. Good. So it's very expensive, but all IBM had to do was say, here's an IBM product. So everybody says, oh, I know IBM, I'll buy it from them. So the first thing is you've got to be able to educate people in what your product is, but that's expensive. It's much less expensive to convince them that you're the one that they ought to buy it from. You can do it through such tricks as discounts, guarantees, other kinds of monkey's fist ideas where they're able to overcome any hesitancy about dealing with you and buy from you. So what I want you to do as you're reading through this, I want you to think about the business that you're studying. Where are they? Are they in box 1 or 2? And the key is spend as little as you can below box 1 and 2. You're going to be in 2 and 3. I'm in 3 and 4 in order to get new clients. Give you another example. We had for a company that I owned, we were going out with home study courses for adults in business. We had the Jefferson Institute that we had produced. I had written a 7-volume set on how to start and run a business. And we were selling those, and we found if we went out with advertisements, it cost so much, the customer acquisition cost was so high, it wasn't worth doing the business. So instead, we took out full-page ads in a newspaper with remainder space, which is really cheap to do a full-page ad. Instead of being $30,000, it was like $5,000 in the Washington Post in those days. And we advertised a free seminar. Come for a full day seminar where we'll teach you all about the things in starting a business and everything there. Well, we had thousands of people sign up for that. And so it was a monkey's fist, wasn't it? Getting them to come. And they would come and gather in the meeting. And so to start with, where were we? We had an existing product, but we didn't have customer base. So when we advertised the free seminar, what did we now have? Where were we? Where were we advertising now? Box 1, 2, 3, or 4? Why do you say that, Brett? Go ahead, Brett. You got to turn the microphone on.
Oh,
There
I'm
you
muted.
go. Yeah.
Just because I might have misunderstood, but just the way that you guys were going about it, and the way that you guys were attacking as a group.
What about what we were doing took it to number one? Did we have a current product?
Yes.
Okay, but did we have a current customer?
No, you didn't.
When they responded to our free ad and they came to our seminar, we now had a current product, a current customer.
That's right.
Okay, and because they listened to what we had to say, they took a chance, which was, it's free, so there wasn't much of a chance, but it's still a waste of time if they'd gone there and it was a crooked outfit. And they came and listened to it. And now we told them about our $155 package they could buy. They could buy consulting services. And we just sold a lot of product to those people because we now had credibility with them. Okay? So you want to spend as little money as you can getting people who are new customers to respond to you. And then you're going to spend a lot more money selling them, those new customers, because they are customers, on the product. So your customer acquisition cost can be there. Okay. I think I have time for one example on that. I don't think it's in the book where I talk about Icy Hot, or is it? Anybody remember Icy Hot in the book, the analgesic balm? Let me talk to you about it briefly, if I can do that. Has anybody heard of Icy Hot? Yeah. So, Jaden, what do you use Icy Hot for?
Sore muscles, or like if you played a sport and you need to get a dead leg or something.
Yeah, there you go. And what does it do? What does Icy Hot do? Why do they call it Icy Hot?
It freezes and burns at the same time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, when I was in high school, we had something called atomic balm. And it was kind of a tan colored goo you use, and we had in big buckets you got. Anyway, the group I was with was approached by Icy Hot and saying, we're in the Los Angeles area, and we've sold a lot of tubes, but we're so far away from having a good, strong sales effort, and we've spent all of our money. We don't know what to do now, because that's what a lot of people do, is they spend a lot of money testing their advertising and they don't have any money left over. Would you do something? So we had a harebrained idea in those days. In fact, today it's the same way. Radio stations were going through a change. And they had all been pop music of various genres going on. And they were cannibalizing each other. They had so many of the same kinds of products going on. So we found a station that was kind of very low in the ratings. They had great reach, but hardly anybody listened to them. And we went to that company, the general sales manager, and said, look, we got a product we would like you to sell on the air. And then they wanted to give us a rate sheet. We said, no, we don't want a rate sheet. Here's the proposal, and I'm going to make up the numbers. This is about right. A tube of Icy Hot will cost, I don't know, $25. Good size tube. Icy Hot is $25. We want you to sell it on the air, and when you make a sale, $25 sale, we want you to give us our part plus the person's name an address where we send it to, okay? So the question was, well, how much of the $25 did we get? What do you think? What would be the typical amount that would be acceptable, that they would be happy with? What percentage, if you want?
So usually 10%?
10% would be, yeah, okay. Let's get them excited. Let's get them so they can't say no. As the Godfather said, let's make them an offer they can't refuse, right? We said, and they said, well, you know, we would have to have probably 20% in order to do this. And they were playing hardball with us. We kind of looked at them and went, I'll tell you what, here's what we're going to do. One-time offer. You're going to give us the person's name and address. We'll deliver it. We'll pay for the delivery. And you keep $20. How's that for an offer? Tyler?
That sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they said. But you know what they did? While they were signing the contract, they kept saying it sounds too good to be true. They said, yeah,
like,
just
what's the
try
catch?
it. What? Yeah, what's the catch? Well, the catch is we need you to go out and tell everybody about it. And if we make it so seductive for you to do it, you're going to find all kinds of ways to get the word out. That's why we're willing to give you a lot of money. Now, typically, how much do you think a $25 tube of something like that costs us to make? Any ideas? Chase, you still there? Keiko, you there?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah. How much do you think it would cost for us to manufacture a $25 tube of this analgesic balm? What would you guess?
Well, I don't know, $10, half of it. I'm not sure.
Okay, let's try Joshua. How much, Josh?
I'm pretty sure you sold it for 25 bucks.
We're selling it for $25. That's the retail price.
Guarantee it's a huge markup, maybe 70% markup.
So how much did it cost? Just let's reduce it down to dollars and cents.
Probably $3.
You are so close. $2.50. 10 to 1. Way to go, Joshua. You nailed it. Yeah. So, you know, we're making $5 on it, but we're going to have to pay $2.50 or so, or less than that, in order to ship the product to the customer. We're paying for that. So we're kind of breaking even on the whole thing, but we're not losing money. But what do we have now? What do we have now?
Credibility.
Clients.
Credibility. What else? What'd you say, Jenny B?
Oh, I just said a client and somebody who will refer you to other people.
A client. See, here's the thing when you work all this out, is you need to know what the incubation period is. Okay, incubation period. How long from the time they buy the first time until they buy again, right? For the chicken to hatch. Well, what we knew, it was Jaden or Tyler was talking about what an analgesic balm is, and you're rubbing it on. Is that a once a year event? Tell us, Jaden. How often do you use that?
When I played soccer or football, it was like every time, every day, or
yeah,
a couple times a week.
People that buy Icy Hot don't make a yearly purchase. It's a constant purchase. We knew, and we had done the testing, that's all part of the marketing. is we had done the testing to find out that somebody was going to replace that about once a month or every 6 weeks at the worst. They needed another tube. So when we sent it out, we pioneered a little thing called stuffing. We took various products like track shoes, like other kinds of athletic equipment, like vitamins, health food products, and we sold them the right to put a small piece of paper or a coupon into the Icy Hot box. We made more off of the sales of the advertising that went into that box, the coupons and the other gifts, than we did off of the Icy Hot. So people were able, when they got their box, they got a coupon from us that says, if you order today, you can get a box of 4 for the price of 3. So you're going to get a free tube of Icy Hot. And where did they come? The radio station didn't get anything off of that. They got their $20. But Icy Hot started selling in multiples of multiples of multiples of multiples. See how that works? That's part of the strategy. When we talk about values, strategies, techniques, that was the strategy. Now, the question is what did the radio station do you think? What do you suspect they did? If you had been the station manager, you're going to make $20 for every sale, what would you do?
Put it on the radio.
How often?
Often as you can without it being too repetitive, I guess.
Well, actually what they did is they started off doing it normally. You know, we got Icy Hot and we didn't tell them how to make a commercial. We said, you do that. That's your problem. You always look at what's in somebody's best interest. People always act out of their own self-interest. What's in the self-interest of the radio station is get it out there and come up with something creative. Call in now and you get a, such and such and get your Icy Hot and call today. We got it. Well, they started making a lot of sales. Again, I love this story because it's all about self-interest. Before long, I think it was about 6 months later, they became in Los Angeles known as the Icy Hot station. That was the moniker that they ended up getting from everybody because they dumped their music programming. They were making so many sales and they could see the money, the dollar signs. They dumped that and they brought, Jim Fixx was a famous running expert, and they brought him on to talk about running and how to do it and where to do it, the equipment you need, and how do you get to the wall and all those good things about running. Brought to you by Icy Hot. And for your tube, call the station and you get it. They became, at one time, they were started broadcasting at drive time in the morning, which is 6 o'clock in the morning. And they ended up going off the air at 9 o'clock at night. Before long, they were broadcasting 24/7. And they had health experts on. They had every single thing to do with it that got people's attention to call in. Their viewership or listenership rose dramatically, and as they did, they made so much money off of the $20 that they were getting. So everything in that story, you see how it all fits together? It's all part of the monkey's fist. Clarity of who you are and becoming, knowing what the margins are, coming up with strategies that are different, zigzag principles. So it's all in those chapters, should be all we just talked about. Okay, I've gone on too long. I wasn't going to keep you this long. I apologize. No, I don't. So it's okay. Any of you have any questions or comments before we sign off?
So just making sure with our teams, other than tomorrow, what's due tomorrow with the information for the company and stuff, is there anything that we need to be working on for next week?
You've got the chapters to finish off tonight. You're going to be sending in what business has agreed. We'll give you a couple of days on it. To those of you who got new teams, you're going to need to look around for somebody. Do it right. You'll get it, but it needs to be ASAP. Otherwise, the semester's ending too quickly. And then next week, we're going to talk about.
Sorry.
What's that? Go ahead, Joshua.
Sorry, you said the chapters are due tonight. I have them on Canvas as being due tomorrow.
Yeah, whatever it says there. It's tomorrow
Okay.
night. It looks like it's tomorrow night.
Oh, I got other homework.
27th before midnight. April, are you there?
Yes, I am.
If you'll notice, all of the assignments are now 11:59 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you, April, for doing that.
Yeah, that was April. I learned slowly. And then you've got a Zoom negotiation on the June 3rd, and we'll explain more of that. And because you're going to video your meeting, and anyway, we're going to discuss negotiating next time and go through the details of that. It's extremely important. So you're going to read more of the book, and you're going to write. You're going to gather some ads, and you're going to start creating the ads. That's the semester. Okay. That's what you're working. Does that answer your question? Whoever asked that?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything specific that we had due by next week that we were supposed to be working on with our team.
No, just start working on the ad. And by the way, whenever you can schedule a Zoom meeting with me and your teams anytime you want, and I can go through the company with you and we can talk about, brainstorm some stuff.
Okay.
Okay, and the last thing I have to say is, if you want to work on the Russia River cruises with me and the writing of it, email me, let me know. So we'll get a group together. Okay, that's all I have. You guys have a wonderful rest of the week, and by all means, stay safe and have lots of fun and get out in the sun and kill the bugs, because that's where it gets killed, and heat and humidity is your best protection. So, all right, talk to you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks.
Bye.